Welcome back to County Life. Sorry that last video ended so abruptly. I dropped my phone, to be honest. But, like I was saying, I lasted a night out there in the streets of Orlando. And it's not because I couldn't hack it, it's just I didn't know nobody, and the girl was off doing her thing, and I didn't think she was coming back, and I was just ready to go back. Actually, I wasn't ready to go back yet. I decided that I was going to try and hitchhike my way out, back up to PA, and I started my journey, and I started walking. First, I tried to make a couple phone calls. My gram, she, at the time, wasn't sick, or, she has Alzheimer's now, and she's up here in PA in a nursing home, but at the time, she lived down there because she had the lottery. Oh, that's another story. That's how we got our house. In 2006, she hit the lottery, bought us a home, and a bunch of cars and other things. And she wound up spending it all, and my father wound up spending a lot of it, and now she's broke with Alzheimer's in a nursing home where nobody visits her. And my father took his life, and we sold the home as this next to kin. But anyway, so she was down there at that time, and excuse me. At the time, so I tried to call her. She's like, "Junior, I don't want no parts of your problems." So I kept it moving, and I hitchhiked. I got a ride from the bottom of, or the middle of Orlando, or wherever, to the top of Orlando, and then back down to the bottom of Orlando. I don't know. I was just all over the place. But anyway, I wound up going back. And the last night I was there, the girl popped back up. And she's like, "Oh, I thought they killed you. I thought you were dead. They wouldn't tell me where you went or anything like that." And I was like, "Well, I just told them to tell you I took off and I went back." But the next day I went to the rehab. And I went with the guy I knew from the detox. And these are fancy places because my mom's insurance was covering it. And 5-star chef detox, and the rehab I went to was like a real religious rehab. We walked in, they were doing Bible study, not big book study, and they were following each other around. It was just real weird. So I was telling the guy that I went there with, I was like, "I gotta get out of here, bro." And he's like, "Me too. I don't live too far away. I can have my mom come grab us." And he's like 30-something at the time. I'm in my early 20s, and I was like, "All right, cool, let's go." And we went. His mom wound up buying me a bus ticket back because all the flights were grounded in PA, or all over the country or in PA or something, because of the snowstorms that were happening. It was a real bad year for snowstorms. And it had to be PA, not all over the country, because some don't get snow. Duh. But anyway, so flights were grounded, bought me a bus ticket, but I had to convince her. I had to call my mom. My mom had to tell her that I could come back or whatever. And everything was cool. We wound up going and, meeting up with this guy, his friend, and doing our thing, relapsing basically. And, no, not basically, relapsing. And I wound up taking the trip back to PA, man. And I met some interesting characters on the bus, to say the least. This kid got on the bus, sat next to me, said, "Hey, you want a cell phone?" And I didn't have a phone at the time because they still had my shit at the rehab. And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "My dad owns a cell phone store right across the street, and I got an extra one." I was like, "Cool." So he messaged me on Facebook through the phone, and he was like, "You want to, when we get off the bus, next trip, or next stop, you want to do, you want to get good?" And I was like, "Yeah, I bet." So we did that, and then, I kept on rolling, and it's a 36-hour bus ride back from Florida. So, boom, I finally get back to PA. And my mother picks me up. I wasn't with my mom fucking 10 minutes, and I had a friend pick me up. We went up, met up with my co-defendants, and kept doing my thing. I got a bunch of stuff, went back to Scranton, got it off, and continued on from there. But I wasn't there very long, because I had a case with domestic relations, and domestic relations, they wound up deciding to randomly urine me. And I went and I popped hot for heroin, I popped hot for cocaine, I popped hot for Suboxone. So I wound up going to treatment. They said, "You want to go to jail or you want to go to treatment?" And I was like, oh, send me to treatment, man. So I went through treatment. It was a local one. And oddly enough, I was in there, completed that, I went to the halfway house. Well, it was called The Pocket. It was like a sober living that you couldn't leave or nothing. It was a real strict one, but there was the girls below us, because it used to be like a little crematory or whatever, and the rehab used to be a hospital, and this was that in the back. Anyway, they redid it, and it was a sober house for both of male and female. Well, we grouped with the girls, so I knew this girl, P, they called her. And P said her friend was coming back because they sent her off to jail to take care of a little small petty charge and then come back to treatment. Well, she came back to treatment, but she was like, yo, my girl's coming, she's thorough, you'll like her, she's just like you, you guys have the same history with, doing all these things and whatever. So I was like, let me see. So when my wife now walked through that door at that very moment, even though we didn't know each other, we didn't talk to each other, nothing, I knew that I was going to marry that girl. I was going to marry her. I knew it. And I didn't know how, I didn't know when, I didn't know if it was even going to be there or what, but I knew I was going to marry her. And she wanted talking to my boy first, but Super Bowl, where the Eagles won, the year the Eagles won, that Super Bowl, we partied with the girls upstairs. The men cooked, the girls, we chilled, whatever, we ate, and then we did the Super Bowl. Well, she was sitting by herself, and I'm talking to somebody in the back of the room. All the couches are lined up in rows and whatever, and I'm talking to her in the back room. Or I'm watching her in the back of the room, and nobody comes up, talks to her. My boy's up front doing his thing and whatever. And now this is my friend from Sandbox. We grew up together. We just wound up being running partners and ended up in the same rehab at the same time. And, this is his second time through there, so he knew some of the people or whatever, so I wound up going to talk to her. And that was history from there, man. We wound up texting all the time, whatever. And I was talking to this girl on the outside trying to finagle the bagel and get money from her. So I told her I was going to this sober house and I needed $500 for the rent. Well, she gave it to me, and at the same time, my sister, who was on the run for this huge case in PA, a burglary case, she hits me up on Snapchat under my dead nephew's name. And I was like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? So I opened it, and it was her. She was down in Florida, getting a tattoo, talking about, Junior, come down here, blah, 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 blah. So I hit up my wife, and I'm like, hey, you want to go to Florida? She's like, yo, I just got my check. Let's go. I'm like, bet. So we went to Florida. I had my boy Dustin. My boy Dustin comes scooped us up from the treatment center, or from the whatever, and we fucked around in town for a couple of days or whatever, and then we took off. When we left the treatment center, though, a girl had left that next day, and she wound up meeting up with us, whatever. I kicked it, and then, I went to, do my thing, and then we took off and went to Florida, Panama City Beach. And so we're all on the run down there. My girl's on the run from parole. I'm on the run from everything. My sister's on the run. Her husband's on the run. We got my nephews down there with us. But my sister and her husband at the time were working, and they were like legitimately doing their thing down there. But we were hotel hopping. We were living in hotels and just going from one to the other, back to the other, back to the other. And well, there's the last one we stayed at, they're at work. And I come up, I wake up and I go get a soda, right? And I'm down there a month already. And I go get a soda. And I see this cop. And he's coming around. So I go to the soda machine, I come back, and all I hear is, and By the time I seen them moving fast, so I walk quick, go back in the room. I said, the cop's about to be outside. I said, just don't answer the door. She's like, what? I'm like, don't answer the fucking door. So I go to the bathroom. I'm smoking a cigarette. I light a cigarette. I pick up the phone. I call my sister. I'm like, yo, the cops are outside and they're knocking on the door. And she's like, what? Who are they for? I said, I think they're here for me. I don't know. White boy dressed in all fucking big, tall tank top and long ass basketball shorts and shit. So, and this was the hood spot. So, boom, they're like, miss, we can't hear you through the door. Can you open the door? And my wife's like, I don't know, whatever. But my nephew's there, so she didn't want to cause a scene or whatever. So she opens the door. She's like, I don't know who you're talking about. I'm like, ma'am, we know he's in here. He used his ID. Where is he? And they just come through the door. Boom. Right? So they come to, they're like, get the fuck out of the way. So she moves out of the way. They come to the bathroom door. They're like, Mr. Cohen, come outside. We know you're in the bathroom. Come out. Just come out quiet. Don't make this a scene. So I come out. I hang up the phone and give it to my wife. Now, PA in Florida have this thing where if the PA don't answer in 10 minutes, they could try again. And if they don't answer in that 10 minutes, then they have to cut you loose because you didn't do nothing. Well, they answered on the second time. And they're like, yup, take them. So, boom, they booked me in. Now, my wife is there with my two nephews. My sister and brother-in-law are at work. So they have her pack up all the shit. By the time they get there, load up, they get up out of there. Boom. Now I'm in county. I was, getting right down there. So I'm in there. I'm not feeling right. I don't want to fuck with nobody. I sleep for like 3 days. Wake up, realize I'm in an intake block. This big ass intake block in Bay County. And, now usually before you go to your block, you go to the intake block. And then you're there for like a week or two, usually. Unless they're being racist and they let the white guys go up their block, which happened to me. I was down there 3-4 days or whatever, and they brought me upstairs. Now, or down the hall, or whatever the fuck it was. And I hit my block. I'm in there, I'm mingling, doing my thing, whatever. And my brother-in-law, they marshals. I finally get a hold of my wife, and then I get a hold of her again, and she's like, oh, they ran down at 6 in the morning. Frank got locked up. Whatever. And I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, they used a robot to find him because they couldn't find him. He was in the attic, whatever. I'm like, god damn. So what happened was my sister put the fucking house in her name. So the marshals are looking for you. That your social security is gonna hit. They're gonna find you. So boom, they found him. So now he's coming in, and I see him. He comes in. He's blocked right next to me. And I'm like, yo, I gotta get over there. So I'm talking to my people. I'm like, yo, how the fuck I get over there? And they're like, oh, well, you gotta check in. You gotta hit the door. I'm like, I ain't hitting no fucking door, bro. I ain't no pussy. And they're like, you gotta hit the door and, tell them you can't live here no more, whatever. So I waited till like 11 o'clock at night where they didn't notice I was trying to get over there because people just came in. And I was like, yo, if you don't get me out of here now, it's gonna be a bloodbath. And it's gonna happen quick. And they're like, what? They're like, what? I'm like, I'm telling you, it's going to be bad. Because they knew what I was into. I was all in the mix already. So. Whatever. I check in, I get over there. Now it's me and him over there chilling. Boom. Now, it's weird. In Florida, I ain't never seen this before, but in Florida, I see everybody smoking like it's nothing. Like smoking at the poker table. Smoking over here, smoking over there. And I'm like, what the fuck are they smoking? It smells weird. So I ask, and I guess they dry out the orange peels that they get, and they fucking roll them up and smoke. Well, they break them down and they roll them up and they smoke them like it's cigarettes. Everybody in there's got orange ass fingers and shit. So I'm like, that's fucking weird. I never seen that before. But anyway, so I'm waiting to go to court. I go to court. I turn down the first extradition because I heard if they don't come get you in 30 days, they gotta cut you loose. But then when I come back, I guess they can do this for 90 days or whatever. I don't know what the fucking law was, but they were like, dude, they come last second. Trust and believe they're going to come and get you. It's a company. They get paid to do this. So the next time I go in 10 days, I go back to court. He's like, you sure? And I was like, no. I was like, let's run it. Send me back. I got to take care of my shit. Now, at this point, I haven't. my big dope case that I'm being sentenced on, that I ran from. That's what I'm running from. Okay, so not I'm getting extradited, but I'm getting extradited to get sentenced. I don't know what I'm going back to get sentenced for, but I'm going back to get sentenced. And I was like, you know what? Let's just take care of it. So I get on extradition. Now, being extradited from another state is not fun. Because one, they pack 10 E's in there, 10 men in there, in some of those vans at the same time. Sometimes you're laying on the fucking floor, and the floor is only this big. And you're laying on the floor, you got people above you, because you can't get comfy. You're shackled and ankle shackled. You're handcuffed and shackled. So, you're not going nowhere. Nothing's happening. You're not moving. I slide my handcuffs around to the front, so I'm not uncomfortable sitting on my hands and shit. Anyway, I'm on that bus for 7 days. We're stopping at all these different prisons and jails to stay over, and Kentucky we stayed in the gym, and we're smoking in the gym. They got a TV in the gym so we can sleep on the floor and watch TV and shit. And then on to the next one. They wound up tasing the girl because she was asking for tampons because she's on her period and dope sick. It was just a mess, and it took a long ass time because they kick out to other states, come back, go over here, go over there, because some people may be on their last second Fed case, state case, the feds are going to pick them up to get smoked on a Fed case or whatever. They're moving MS-13 members around because they can't keep them at one Fed prison or whatever the case. Because I was on there with a MS-13 hitman, I was on there with a rapist, I was on there with murderers and burglars and all this other stuff. Like, it don't matter. There's no, oh, you're only a petty crime, we can only take you with a petty crime no. You're on there with murderers. You're on there with serial killers. You're on there with gang members. You're on there with rapists and chomos and all this other stuff. But I'm getting sentenced for a drug case. You know what I mean? So it's kind of crazy to me. But anyway, so I finally get back, and I'm there, man. I'm there, and I wind up getting sentenced to a 9 to 23. My gravity score wasn't really that. I was a 3 at that point because I got all these, possessions and paraphernalias and trespassing, and because my first case I was robbing companies of their metal that they had outside, and I got caught at a sign company at 18, and so sorry about that. So my gravity score wasn't that high. It was only like a 3. So I got a 9 to 23 county bid. Now, I had 5 months served already. So he said, you could do work release if they allow you to. So I had to go through the whole thing of going to pre-work, which is working for the jail, and you go outside and you do cleanups and whatever, and then you go to work release. Well, I made it to work release. I didn't get outside but twice. No, not twice. I was outside. I was working. But the one day I went to get my ID, and I missed the bus. And because I missed the bus, my mind said, fuck it, go see your wife. Well, she wasn't my wife at the time, she was my girl. And so I think it was Christmas. No, it was Christmas when I went from halfway house back to treatment the last time. Anyway, so I went to see my wife, wound up catching an escape charge. Got booked back, and my father turned me back in, because now this is my second escape charge. I had an escape charge from my first charge. They've dropped it down to a misdemeanor. Well, this is my second one now. So they hit me with another 9 to 23, max out on the first case, and then parole eligible. So I wound up maxing the first case out, getting work release, fucking that up, getting another 9 to 23, and then paroling again. Now, when I paroled again, I paroled from Lackawanna, and I got work release. Well, when I got work release, domestic relations removed me from there and put me back on their domestic relations court. So I was basically free again. And that's where I'm going to leave it this time. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Like, comment, and please subscribe. This is County Life. It's story time. In the future, maybe we might have other things going on, but right now, this is me letting y'all know who I am and where I've been and where I've come from and why I am the way I am and who I am. So again, much respect. Keep your head down, keep your nose clean, and stay out the way.